I'm absolutely delighted to be introducing this brand new format for W. I've got something to tell you. One key bit of information I need to impart. It will be TXing in October from the 3rd, weekly after that, so please do tune in. I've got something to tell you is a very simple proposition in a very simple setting. We converted a 16th century barn in Hertfordshire into a tea room, and with the help of a fixed rig of numerous cameras, these unobtrusive cameras capture extremely intimate and heartfelt conversation. Each of our contributors invite a guest, or some guests, depending on their story, to share a surprise, or perhaps a confession, or a revelation, or maybe just the opportunity to say thank you for something really significant that might have happened in their past. And quite a lot of our contributors, they talk about closure, the opportunity for closure, to have this conversation. The conversations that we recorded on our rig were always frank, mostly surprising, very heartwarming, funny, but I think most importantly, these conversations are entirely unmediated. So at no point do the production team go down onto the floor of the tea room and say to our contributors, oh, could you just pick up on that, or could you carry on talking about that? You know, once our contributors get into our tea room, they are free to spend as much time as they want. Some people sat in our tea room for several hours having a frank conversation with someone important to them. And the important thing about it was that the people that they invited to have those conversations with, they had no idea what it is that their person wanted to share with them. So they signed up to coming to our tea room to have a conversation that was pretty much as they knew. I think that the mix of confession and conversation feels fresh, and I really don't think we've seen anything quite like this before. So it's a really big thanks to Zigzag for bringing us this idea and working with us on this format. And I'd like to offer a very warm welcome to Amanda Holden. She's our brilliant host on this series, and actually we think it's a first. I don't think there's a fixed rig show that's used a host before, and she does it absolutely brilliantly. She brings real warmth and energy to the show. She'll be talking to Richard Arnold about the making of the show, so please offer them a warm welcome. Thank you.
Hello there. Lovely. This is the biggest gig I've had in ages, man. It's
the
brilliant.
latest gig you've had.
It's certainly the best lighting I've ever had. It's better than
Very
Good Morning
pink.
Britain. So, warmth and energy.
Yes.
I know what you're all thinking. What on earth did they cast Amanda Holden for? Now, it's been my job over the last 20 years or so to polish everything that Amanda has brought to the stage,
yes,
be it the small screen or otherwise. But this pretty much sells itself. I wanted to call it All Back to Yours, or All Back to Mine, with Amanda Holden, because you do have this quality about you with everybody, including myself, whether there's liquor involved or not.
Mostly when there is.
Mostly when there is. We have stepped over each other once or twice at various awards do, but you have this quality about you where people do want to tell you things.
That's kind. I mean, I don't know why. It is true in my life that people do tell. I know so many things about people. I've got a lot of stuff on people, basically. But I think it's because I'm quite chatty myself, and I'm very honest, and I tell everybody everything, and whatever I'm feeling at the time, everybody knows about it. I've never really held back. No, holding back. I've never really held anything back, much to my husband's dismay. So maybe that's what it is. I love chatting, and I love just being with people and talking, and that encourages other people to talk, I think.
So this was right up your street. Let's have a little taster about it, and then we'll chat a little bit off the bat. Take a look at this. I've got something to tell you.
I've converted a 16th century barn into a 21st century tea room.
Hi there, welcome to the tea room.
Here in the depths of rural Hertfordshire, guests can escape the rat race and spend precious quality time together. Having intimate and heartfelt conversations.
Just say it. Just say 7 years past sex. That's like my story all over.
But this is no ordinary tea room. And these are no ordinary diners. Every single one of them has an extraordinary story to tell.
Something I've got to tell you.
Oh my god.
A surprise to reveal.
Was it like this?
You didn't tell me. Oh, wow. Oh, no.
Or a secret to share for the very first time.
Oh, charming.
Joking. I really don't know what to say to that.
They say confession is good for the soul.
Tell me now. Tell me now.
Tonight we'll find out if that's true.
Go on, who is it?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, when?
So 2 things: we need a bigger TV.
I've got neck ache.
Secondly, not exactly my preferred colour palette for your converted barn, but nevertheless.
It was like duck egg blue. I love that.
Do you like duck egg blue?
Oh, I love
We're a bit
that
over
colour.
duck egg blue, ladies and gentlemen. What we're not over is Frank Confessionals.
I
And
do
that's
like,
the
I liked having a tea room. Do you know, because I always call myself a waitress that got lucky. I can still balance 3 plates on one arm. Because my mum had a hotel. She had a small B&B in Bournemouth, and I was the waitress. And that brought everything back to me. And it's my favourite job in the world. I don't mean to sound patronising, but I absolutely loved that part of it, mostly.
Well, don't you know,
was the serving of tea.
well, that's it, it's tea, because when you think about it, it's tea and sympathy. That's so British, as is lifting up the net curtain on people's lives, and that's exactly what you do here.
Yeah, you are having a nose, you're having a little insight into a moment in somebody's life on lots of occasions that is life-changing, like a marriage proposal, for instance, or somebody saying the IVF worked, or really completely different things about what people get up to late at night and how they earn a living. And
What, are they combined, earning a living and late at night?
I'll just leave that to your imagination.
As you
But yeah,
so
and
often
like
do.
amazing stories and amazing other little things that came out that you're not expecting, and I had an earpiece in so I can hear absolutely everything that's going on everywhere. It was like a very, very intimate. I don't want to say Big Brother because it's not sort of not trash. It's much more. It's got a much more heart. Nobody's been stitched up. Everybody is aware of what they're there for, and every story that came out left us in tears mostly.
Were you surprised at how frank people were?
Yeah, and I think, and it was a lot of frankness over tea as well, because we did offer champagne, but it was because it's during the day. Lots of people were just having cups of tea. People just got very, very intimate. I think it's because life today is spent like this, whereas life is really about that. And this show makes you do this and stops you from looking at your tablet, your phone, checking messages. We banned all kinds of tablets and social media. Everything was banned from the tea room, and we just wanted people to make eye contact with each other and just remember what talking's like and touching's like and just being with that other person without having beep beep, oh hang on a minute, I'll just get that, or let's do a selfie, or all of that had gone, and suddenly the world turned how it used to be, which is so important, I think.
It's beautiful.
Sorry.
I've known her 20 years.
Under
Are you
that.
feeling something? I thought you had a heart like a swinging brick. You did. There it is. There it is. That's the real Amanda Holden. She's shedding her human form. You did tear up in it because, as you say, as well as very poignant moments and very intimate moments. I think the great thing about the show, for me, having watched as much of it as I've been able to, is the fact is with this obsession, with reality TV and the celebrity culture, is that everybody has a story worth listening to, but so rarely do we listen these days.
Well, that's exactly my point. We don't. I think we're in danger of losing the art of conversation, even the art of writing. I mean, this is going off track a bit, but when you tell your children that you've got to write thank you letters at Christmas and stuff like that, it's something I know is going to go. And one day, everyone will have handwriting lessons because they will have all been doing typing, and we're losing so much of what makes us human. And emotion and confession and just liking and loving and even hating is part of what you need for a show like this. I hate even calling it a show because it felt like it was so genuine. That tea room was so brilliant. I would love to run it all year and actually charge people, because we didn't charge a single person. I can't go in, and it was very funny. But yeah, I think we're in danger of losing so much of our humanity, and this show brings it back.
Well, we've got another touching moment from the show. Let's take a look at this. This is the aforementioned proposal that you mentioned, Matt.
There's lots of them.
Well, I might have told Little Porky.
Right.
I've actually got one more thing to say to you. Oh my God. I'm going to go on one more stag do. It's going to be my stag do.
Your stag do?
You mean the world to me? Will you marry me?
Yeah.
crazy.
So you might be on one must have do.
Look, everyone, my vital signs are back, Amanda. I'm feeling something too.
Oh, yes, you
There's
are.
a pulse.
There's a pulse.
There's a pulse. I mean, that's a beautiful moment and one
It's
of many in the show.
lovely.
Obviously, I'm not as close to the project as you are, but is there somewhere afterwards that people go to? I've heard there's a maze or something, or at least that you know, you do follow
Life
them
is a
afterwards.
maze, Richard.
Oh, don't go that deep.
There
No
is a
time for
maze.
that.
No, they come and have a chat with me after. So I did loads of interviews.
Right.
Sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're not. So there's a nice log fire and a little place outside where I just had a general chat with loads and loads and loads of different people and different stories, just to get to know them. So when I was in that room, I was completely invested because I knew everything about them and everything about their family. And then sometimes afterwards, they'd come out and I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing, when are you getting married? So we had a nice chat afterwards.
And you'll be going to the do, obviously.
Well, I might, with a new hat.
All back to Amanda's in the Cotswolds. Any questions for Amanda Holden? I've got something to tell you. Wave your hands in the air.
Or if anyone's got something to tell me.
Yes, a professional. Now's
Honestly,
your
I'll keep it
time.
secret.
Hello, love. Well, you look brilliantly backlit.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello.
It's a great show. Two questions. One is, what moved you most of all the revelations? And did you ever feel you were intruding upon something that is actually rather private?
I never felt like I was intruding. I felt very much like I was sort of an honoured guest and part of something incredible that was going to happen, life-changing. And I think the story that stayed with me the most, without giving too much away, was a story of a child that had been looking for his father for a very long time, like a lifetime, and we found them, maybe.
There's your answer, Tim. Any more questions? Here we go, gentleman here at the front. I think 3 rows.
Has working on a show like this made you...
A nicer person?
That's a bit of a leap of faith, mate. Baby steps.
Has it made you want to make a confession of your own?
Well, this is what I was saying earlier, much to my poor Crispy's dismay, I confess most things every week to some newspaper or other, by accident or on Twitter, because I'm chatty. I have no more secrets because of social media and, you know, just life in general. And I just wear my heart on my sleeve, and most people know everything about me. Obviously, there are things that are personal still that I wouldn't broadcast, but mostly, this is it.
Have you ever regretted anything like that?
Oh God, all the time, every week.
Yeah.
Every week when I get to sit on the naughty step because Crispy puts me there. I can't believe you'd say something like that, Mandy. Why would you say that?
Well, you've been married some time now, and I encourage role play in any relationship. That's as far as I'm going with that. Yeah, exactly. Any more questions? Anyone for any more?
Yes. Hello.
Why is it, do you think, that you do wear your heart on your sleeve? Because I'm exactly the same. Like, I tell everybody everything. There's no mystery about me, but I just wondered, like, why is it, do you think, that you're like that as a person?
Gosh, I don't know, but my mum's very similar, and so is my grandmother, and I've still got my gran, and she is. I come from a very matriarchal family, so we're very gobby, and we've always had to jump in. My worst habit is interrupting people because I'm so used to doing it, because otherwise I won't be able to speak because there's so many women in my family. And I think it's just that kind of fight forward all the time to get your word in. And there's no escape. Both my mother and my grandmother have this saying which makes my heart sink, where they say, I'm sorry, Amanda, but I've got to tell you the truth. And I'm like, but it's your truth, isn't it, Nanny? It's not actually the truth, and I don't want to know because I know it's going to upset me. And it always is something bad I've done or said or wore. So I'm like, don't tell me about it. I blame my family, basically.
Next question.
Mandy, you said you've got a lot of stuff on people. Have you got anything on Simon?
I knew you were going to say that. Of course I haven't.
Anything on Piers I can use tomorrow?
Oh. Well, no, he's got more on me. It's bad.
Yeah,
He's just a bloodhound, isn't he? Turned gamekeeper.
Brilliant. Love it. There's your pull quote, ladies and gentlemen. There's your pull quote from us. Anyone else? I've got a question for you then.
Oh,
Oh, then we've got one more. Go on.
yes.
It's just what what are the criteria for selecting the stories?
I don't know if there's a criteria. I think with any show that's starting, that things sort of, you put out requests. So have you got something you want to tell somebody? Is there a confession? And it's anything. It's just a free-for-all, really, and people, I think, just come forward.
That's a good question, actually, because it raises the point. Do you think people are more confessional these days because of, well, the fact that, you know, celebrities are far more open about their lives than they ever were before, so sort of leading by example? Do you think, as a nation, we're much more of an open book now?
I think we're more of an accepting nation, aren't we? I think less things are shocking because everything's sensationalised, and we're kind of taught what's supposed to shock us and what's not by reading various things. I mean, some things I read in the paper, I'm like, well, that's not shocking, but it's big headlines, and you're like, so? But it's like you're being educated to see what's shocking you. But I think as a society and as a nation, we are massively accepting. I'm so proud of our country for that. I think we kind of envelop everybody, and society as a whole, I think, are less judgmental. Yeah. But you might be right with, I don't know, people like me or Katie Price or people like that just being very open and outspoken.
I often mistake the two of you, actually.
There's no mistaking me. These babies are all mine.
Yeah,
she says, lifting them up.
You can keep them, dear. We're all proud. Here we go.
What do you think shows like these and First Dates, the ones that are so kind of honest, what is it about them that really has appealed to people?
I think you said it. I think it's honesty. I think even now with presenters of shows, people don't want the slick and the well-polished. People want realism. People want to see a smudged makeup and crying and rawness. I don't think people want polish anymore. I think people want realism, and I think a show like this and First Dates is real people saying and doing real honest things. And I think, you know, in sort of shiny floor television as well, I think the more honest and open and natural you can be is where you're going to gain popularity or humility, because I think people want to believe you, people want to know who you really are, not the facade that is telly.
Do you think there's too much of that?
Well, I think it's a good balance, but I think there could be more humility and more humanity and more warmth on telly. Yeah, definitely.
The real Amanda Holden.
Well, I think that's what people want. Britain's Got Talent. I mean, look, come on. I've got to talk about Britain's Got Talent for 2 seconds. It still works, and so does Strictly, because there's a huge heart. There's a huge heart to both the shows.
Well, there's a beating heart right at the centre of this.
And
I've got something to tell you. It starts on October 3rd at 9 o'clock. I've got to tell you that the final session, the Red Dwarf session, is at NFT 1. Starts in just a moment. But in the meantime,
well done, Richard.
A slow hand, a warm ripple at least, and a collagen wave for my TV one momentarily. Amanda Holden. Should we go to Nando's?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Is it too early for a Prosecco?